Her Bold Blueprint.
Her Bold Blueprint.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode. We have with us today a very special guest, Jill Vaughan, who is the president and CEO of the Downtown Orlando Partnership. She has an extensive background in sales, marketing, fundraising, and a lot of other things she did on the side while she took a little career break. So please join us and hear what Jill has to say today.
Welcome, Jill.
Thank you
We're
for
so
having me
excited you're
today.
here.
And thank you for recording in downtown, too. I don't know if a lot of people
Oh.
know that you're actually recording this session in
I
downtown.
don't think we had talked
are.
about that.
We
Yes.
are.
Thank you.
It
In the
was-
heart of downtown.
Yes.
too.
It was funny because we parked in the garage and we were walking here and a
Right.
gentleman stopped us. He's like, "What are you doing? Going to a
Fashion.
fashion show?" And we're like, "No, we're recording a podcast." And he goes, "Oh, so you're recording multiple episodes?" He's like, "I record too. I do the same thing." So it was so funny.
Yeah.
Oh,
He knew what we
Small
were.
Lando.
Not here.
right?
I know, small
Yeah,
land.
so
you'll
we're walking
also
around
run it-
downtown with like all of our extra.
Right. And even on the way
Outfits and-
walking over, because our office is currently in the Truist Plaza. And so I walked over and I saw probably between seeing members and also just seeing friends, especially at lunch hour, you see a lot of people
Yeah.
on the street. So it's fun.
Out and about.
It's fun.
Yay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yay.
So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, we want to start off by asking how you ended up in Orlando in the Central Florida area. Tell us a little
So
bit.
I grew up in Flint, Michigan, but actually I was born in Flint, but then my family moved to Flushing, Michigan, which is a small town. It would kind of be similar to like in Altamont Springs to Orlando.
Mhm.
And so grew up there. And after I graduated from college, I was dating a guy and we moved down here together and then we broke up as soon as we moved down here. So that's how I moved to Orlando. But I loved it. And I had a great job at the time. And I was just really excited about being in Florida because I will say that, growing up in Michigan, you haven't, you have a perceived perception of what Florida is. All old people and, not,
Yeah.
you just don't really
Yeah.
think about it, especially as a young person.
Yeah.
And so, moving here, it was just so exciting to be around young people. And I love the warm weather and, it's so easy to get to the beaches. And it was just, there was just so much opportunity here. So I was really excited to be here. And then Orlando, captured my heart and downtown captured my heart. And I never left. So, and my first job was in downtown too.
Oh, it was? What were you
So,
doing
yes.
at that time?
So at that time when I first moved here, I was working for it was a telecommunications company based in London, but they did accounting software. So the specialty was working with attorneys and with accountants so that they could keep track of their long distance calls. Because back then you used to
you
get
had to
charged
pay
for
for that.
long
Yes.
distance calls. I mean, now everything's
That's going old school.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it was just really exciting because I got to meet so many business professionals. We had a really young team in downtown. We started out in an office at Lake Eola. And so back then too, this is dating myself, but back then it was when Church Street Station was still so
big.
active.
Mhm.
And so we would always do happy hour downtown. And, so I've always had just a love affair with downtown Orlando, especially because, like I said, it was my first, real job professionally. But then after that job, I worked for Allergan and I'd sold medical equipment. So I did phacoemulsification machines and intraocular lens implants for cataract surgery. So
Wow.
it was so exciting, and I loved
that's
that
kind
job.
of a 180.
I
but-
loved that job. It's still sales related.
It
in a
is,
sense.
yeah.
And really, what I found too is that really, regardless of what profession you do, it's about relationships, really, and just knowing how to build relationships and maintain relationships. And so, I loved my job at Allergan. It was a lot of travel. And with that job, too, a lot of times I would have to be in the OR, like in the operating room at 4
Watching,
in the morning, not only to watch it, but they would have to autoclave or sterilize the equipment prior to the surgeon using it or trying the equipment. So it was really fun. I loved that job. And back then, there were only 2 Botox sales reps in the entire world. And I thought it wasn't indicated for that.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was like, those people are crazy, whoever's representing Botox, because, it's not even indicated for what it is. Had I known, I would have, back then,
you were on
to be able
on
to,
the front lines
Yeah.
there, the cutting edge.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but it was a career that I just really couldn't maintain with young children.
Right.
And so because it was a lot of travel at the time when I was married, my former husband is an attorney. And so he had a profession that really wasn't flexible as far as watching, childcare. And so I had to sadly give up that job, but I really loved that job and I really excelled at it too. And it was such that, I always thought that I would probably go back into that profession. So, and then, when I, had kids, I have 3 boys, took some time off for kids in between, but then I volunteered for everything. I had the unpaid job of volunteering.
That's a lot.
Because I love, making an impact and seeing an impact. And there's so many incredible charities and organizations within our Central Florida footprint that, are just making such incredible contributions to our community. Yeah. And I wanted to be part of that. But of course, it was unpaid position. So, so when after the kids had grown and I had volunteered for probably every single thing you could do, including, school PTA president and, all of the things, I decided that I was going to, look for a position that kind of I wasn't sure if I was going to go back into sales or where I was going to end up. And I ended up interviewing with, at the time it was Florida Hospital,
right?
And it's since Advent Health. But at the time, they did not have anyone that was managing their third-party endorsed events. So basically what that means is the hospital produces their own events,
right?
For fundraising. They host a large Golden Gala every year. But this was community events, third-party events that benefited the hospital and the areas of excellence, but they weren't hospital-sanctioned events. So making sure that, my degree's in marketing, so making sure that the logo was, properly aligned, also giving advice, but then also scheduling, whether it be a check presentation or if a physician needed to come and make remarks at the event. At the time, there was a large golf tournament that had benefited the hospital. So it was about a $2 million line of revenue that I managed when I first started. But I had various roles over that time. And the last role I had at Advent Health before I left, I reported directly to the president of the foundation. And I was doing major gifts, so fundraising, and I had everything but children's cardio and cancer. So I had diabetes, ortho, neuro. I had the Translational Research Institute, but then I also had 4 hospital boards. I had Apopka, Altamont, Winter Garden, and Winter Park.
Yikes.
And so, but with that, I had so many people and such a wide network of professionals. Yeah. And so when this opportunity came about with the Downtown Orlando Partnership, I felt like it was a lot of
brought everything together.
People, a lot of people that I had already, whether it be people that I knew from my children's school or people that I knew from when I was at Advent Health, or even surprisingly, even when I first moved here, building upon those relationships too. So, I love the fact that our community, I feel, is just really nurturing and really supportive of each other too. And so, that's how, small Lando.
I'd love to go back a little bit because I think this point gets missed a lot. I never stayed home with my kids, and Kate, you really haven't either because you've been working the whole time. Yeah. But I think there's a tendency to discount all those things that you were doing. I mean, being a PTA president is a huge job.
Well, and I will say that, I always love to be active in the community, but to your point, it is an important point to make that oftentimes it's discounted if you're a stay-at-home mom,
right?
And you're trying to re-enter the workforce. Yeah, how do you do that? My recommendation would be to just stay as actively involved in the community, whether that be volunteering, it can be with a local charity, it can be with your children's school, it can be, with your church if you're faith-based, because those are things and those are skills that you can use on your resume.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I managed this fundraising budget and things like that.
So, that would be my advice, especially, if you're thinking that you want to stay home stay at home and then go back. My advice would just be to stay active in the community.
Yeah, and all those connections and that's the best way to get a job is to
absolutely
have relationships.
It's all about who you know.
Absolutely.
So,
but to your point, Kate, too, you have to manage a budget if you are doing a fundraising initiative and, in an unpaid position as a volunteer, right? You have to do that.
I've tried a couple events. They were unpaid. I mean, I was working at the same time, but it's a lot to manage. It can almost be a full-time job.
Yes. And I also, I had the privilege of when I was at Advent Health, they had all the employees do strengths finders. So it's kind of a audit of your abilities and strengths. And so my number one that showed up was achiever. And I will say that whether it be in a volunteer position or a paid position, I'm always trying to beat myself in a sense. So, with measurable results. So, even when I was, in those unpaid positions to make sure that okay, what'd they do last year? What can we do this year?
Yeah.
And so, and just being, making smart decisions too, because a lot of times with nonprofits, I mean, you still have to run it like a business. You still have to run it.
They are businesses.
I think that's oftentimes missed, right? And so rather than buy whatever it is to help support the event, maybe it's you find a partner who can donate those goods or services too. So oftentimes I say work smarter, not harder. I say that a lot. And I feel like I utilize that too now in my role with the Downtown Orlando Partnership.
Yeah. So. I mean, and now you get to oversee our wonderful city here.
Yes.
And you've been there 3 years?
No, I've actually been there 5.
5 years.
5 years. So I started during COVID. So a lot of people thought I was
Lovely
crazy
time to start. Yeah.
because I also had a great job with Advent Health. I really loved that job and I was successful at it. I loved the people there. I loved our donors. I really enjoyed it. However, I will say COVID was difficult in the sense that, a lot of especially donors from a donor base, a lot of elderly donors. And so, you build relationships. And so going over to check on them and, making sure that their health was good, but even going to the grocery store to buy eggs, because they were afraid to go out. Yeah. So when this role came about, I was like, okay, it kind of fits everything I've done: marketing, fundraising, sales, relationships. And so I was really excited about it. And I also was excited for the opportunity because it was a little less emotional. It was more transactional as far as the corporate partnerships versus a person. You still have personal relationships, but it's a little bit different. So I was ready to kind of take that part of the emotional weight off of my plate.
For people who may not be familiar, explain a little bit about what the Downtown Orlando Partnership is.
Sure.
Because I think it's also really cool and unique for our city here.
For the women who do it all, and then do a little more. We're here for you. At Advent Health for Women, we created the region's only women's health navigation team to make healthcare simpler. Our registered nurses will match you with the right doctors, schedule your appointments, and more for you and your whole family. So you can keep making hard look easy.
Well, and it's also really confusing because there's a lot of acronyms.
Yes.
So
DTO, DOP.
DTO, which is Downtown Orlando, the DDB, which is the Downtown Development Board. So the Downtown Orlando Partnership was founded in 1961. So this year we're celebrating our 65th year in Orlando. We've been here longer than Disney, 10 years, longer than the Downtown Development Board. So the Downtown Orlando Partnership is a 501c6, so it's similar to a chamber. We also have a 501c3. And so the mission of our organization is to champion business in downtown. And so that is through events, marketing. But, I've also been really intentional about creating a public-private partnership in the sense that, working with the City of Orlando's Downtown Development Board to really create opportunities for us to work together to really enhance the business community as well. And so a strong downtown is a strong city, is a strong, Central Florida community. So our organization, we're just shy of 300 members. So we're a membership-based organization, but we do a lot. We have networking opportunities, as I mentioned. We have First Friday coffees, which are open to anyone in the community. So we want to be inclusive. We want to have anyone who's able to attend not have the financial burden of not maybe being able to afford a membership, be able to attend. Right. So our First Friday coffees are open to anyone in the community. They vary in locations because we love to have our downtown partners host those events, and we love to showcase, the assets that are here. Right. We host a networking happy hour, which used to be called Third Thursday. And then I have to give credit where credit is due because it was rebranded recently. And so Jamie Merrill, who is the current president and CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Central Florida, she's one of our board of directors. And so I had been struggling. I'm like, I have a marketing background. I could do this. What can we rename Third Thursday? Because I wanted to make it an event that it could be any day of the week or any day of the month because there's a lot of competing events on Thursdays, right? So Jamie said, I would like to attend a happy hour, but I would like to come early. And so have you ever thought of 4 to 7 in the 407? And I was like, that's it. We're doing it.
4 to 7.
So we just rebranded our social hour. So it's 4 to 7 in the 407. We're planning on doing it at least quarterly, but as of now, we have so many people that want to host it. It looks like it's going to at least be every other month.
Wonderful.
And so it's been really fun and so well received.
Yeah, because I still want to be home to tuck my kids in bed.
Or go home for dinner.
Yes. Yeah, I could be home for dinner.
That's a good option.
Yeah.
So we've been really excited about that. So we have that as a social hour. But then we also host 4 signature events each year, annually. And so we host the Mayor's State of Downtown, which generally is attended between, last year our attendance, we had about 600 key stakeholders that attended that event. We also host the Golden Brick Awards, which celebrate the people, projects, and initiatives in downtown Orlando. That is also where we award a Downtowner of the Year. Mayor Dyer will award a Downtowner of the Year. The last few years, we've done that at our beautiful Steinmetz Hall at the Dr. Phillips Center, which we love our venues. We love our venues. We've sold out the last 2 years. So that's we've had 500 professionals in attendance for that event. And then the last 2 years, we've partnered with the City of Orlando's Downtown Development Board to co-host. We're hosting it, but they're supporting us through sponsorship. We're hosting a Downtown Employee Appreciation Week. So we've done morning coffees at various locations and an afternoon treat. And then we've done a happy hour that week too. It's all complimentary. So you don't have to be a member of our organization to attend. That's nice. You just have to be an employee. We consider that also to be something that is of value to the employers downtown and to say thank you. But our idea too was also to get people back into work and to come into work to see like, oh, what fun things are happening today, or what freebies are happening. So we've hosted everything from like a coffee at City Hall in the morning to at the Kia Center, we did Meet the Mascots, and we had 8 different local mascots there. We had the Orlando Squeeze, the Big Orange, to stuff the Orlando Magic, which was really fun. And those events we hosted throughout the week. We had over 6,000 people in attendance. Wow, and this last year we did, it was really trying to always make things fun too. We did a different collectible sticker in the morning and then the afternoon and a happy hour. And we had people that were just coming to collect the stickers.
To get their stickers?
Too. Yeah, to get the downtown Orlando, like the fun downtown Orlando stickers. So we're going to do that again. So that's really fun. And then the last signature event that we started 2 years ago was Chow and Church. And that event has been hosted at the soccer stadium at Inter & Co.
And we do come
to
that.
Yes. And it's the idea for that was to highlight our restaurants that are in downtown. So it's a food tasting event. As I mentioned, the City of Orlando is our partner on that, the Downtown Development Board. So they make it such that it is a very price-friendly point to attend. So last year, I think it was $35, and there was food tasting from over 16 different restaurants.
It was good food, too.
It was great food. And then you got 2 Orlando Pride tickets. So we're looking forward to hosting that again. As of now, I think we have it scheduled for May of this year, but we're really excited for that too. Amazing. So but beyond the events,
that's a lot. That's a
events,
lot.
We have a board of directors. So our board of directors, we can go up to 30. We currently, I think, have 28. and really have been intentional about looking at what that looks like too, because I really wanted our board of directors to not only represent downtown Orlando and move the needle in downtown with their expertise, but to also bring their businesses and their roles to become leaders of our organization, to really define the next chapter of what our organization looks like too. So I'm really proud of our board of directors and our trustees as well. So we usually host about 50 plus events a year. And
you got a ways to go.
Yes. And so we do some, we did rebrand. We were doing a lunch and learn, but we rebranded that to a downtown business forum. So that allows us to do either breakfast or lunch.
Right.
And so that's been really fun to do those. We, in partnership, also do a downtown business collective. And so what we've done is selected some key stakeholders to meet with our government officials and specifically speak about downtown Orlando with their opinions. And just it's really a cool question and answer session. And, we really just want to engage as many people as we can, because I feel like right now, especially downtown, have such a transformation opportunity, and there's a lot of really great things coming, and we want to be at the table for that.
Now,
with the businesses.
I was thinking too, like you came on during let's face it, downtown Orlando was pretty much a ghost town for several years. Then even now, like I've been talking to a lot of people in the corporate side, and even now they don't have everyone coming in 5 days a week. They're still somewhat on a flex schedule. So trying to keep the businesses afloat during that time had to be, did you know what you were stepping into?
So,
that's a lot.
I will say that, I thought of disruption as opportunity. I really did. And I believe that. And I think that maybe at the time, as I stepped into it, I really didn't know what that was going to look like.
Yeah.
But I was just really excited for the opportunity. And so I think that in hindsight, maybe I wouldn't have done it, but I'm so happy that I did.
Yeah.
And it's just been also, it was a great reset for the organization in a sense, because we had hosted so many events, and back during COVID, you couldn't do any events, right?
Yeah.
And so it really allowed us to look at what events we were doing, trying to determine the impact that those events could make, and also just really trying to get as much corporate engagement as we could get too.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I had mentioned earlier with even the Downtown Employee Appreciation Week, really just trying to get people back into the office, especially hopefully for that week, but then also hopefully during the week, so that they can see like, oh, this new restaurant is here. And we varied it in location. So, because I will say, even though, I work downtown every day and I'm in the office every day, kind of stay in my own little few block bubble.
Yeah.
And so, just really being able to highlight some of the other things that are happening too. It's been great. And then we've been blessed with Travel and Leisure moving their corporate headquarters to downtown.
That's unusual because up to this point, I think the biggest thing I remember was Red Lobster moving their headquarters downtown.
Yes.
And that was several years ago.
So when you talk about all these things that you're doing, what does your team look like? How many people?
We have a small team.
Okay.
Small but
very
mighty.
Small but mighty. But I will say also we've been able to lean into the incredible resources at our colleges. So we have Rollins and UCF based here and Valencia. So we have really, it goes back to working smarter, not harder. I also wanted to reset like our budget, with employees as well too, because at the time when I took over, we had 3 employees and then like a part-time bookkeeper and a part-time, someone who was doing our newsletter. And so like a contractor who was doing that. So it was the chance to reset that as well. Yeah. And so now we have interns coming in. We have at least 2 interns generally that come in each semester. And so they help with marketing, they help with events. And so not only is it giving them the experience that they need for school and for their future professions, it's also a way for us to be cost effective.
Yeah.
And so that's been a really great way for us to keep a lean team as well.
Do you find you take a mentorship role?
Definitely.
To them?
Definitely.
And what is your advice to them?
Definitely. And I will say that, right now we have a very young team, even with employees. And so even when we have an opportunity right now, we have one position that's open for membership. And so all of our team gets to interview these potential candidates that come in.
Oh,
because I also feel like even if you're 25, well, but I also think let's give them the experience too of being an interviewer.
Yeah.
And to have the opportunity, because to your point, it is a team and everyone has to mesh, especially on a small team. But I also want to empower them so they have the opportunities to, ask questions they may feel important that maybe I don't feel are as important, but giving them that experience to do so.
Yeah.
So we've always had our entire team interviews. And so one candidate that came in, he's like, oh, I've never been in a room of 4 females that, were, and 3 are under 20. And I was like, you're probably not going to get the job. That probably, if you think that, maybe you keep it to yourself. But, I really want to empower all of my team to be able to have those opportunities. And, I will say that, I was not afforded that in some of my roles. And, I would have appreciated those opportunities because those are just areas for growth.
Yeah. Well, it's nice
careers.
that you have that view that you can do some things that you didn't get to. It's nice when you get to reinvent.
Absolutely.
That process.
Absolutely.
So
it's been really fun. And like I said, we're so fortunate to have such incredibly educated and just professional talent here locally. So it's been really a great addition to our team to be able to use that. And I will say, oftentimes they think of things because we see things a lot of times or do things the same way, but they come up with different perspectives too to say, have you ever thought of this or have you ever done it this way? And even with marketing changes so often that, whether it be social media, like to even just look at the metrics for that and just maybe different ways of doing things. So it's been really, really fun. It's been great.
Well, thank you. Do you want to do our Take 5?
Yes.
Oh my
goodness.
We'd
like to wrap up
quick
each episode with a little Take 5 quick answer. What's your favorite indulgence?
So I love to thrift, which I think I've told you this before too. I love a good estate sale. I love to thrift. It's like the hunt. I've gotten better though because I've been more selective. Because in the beginning I was like, oh, that's such a good deal. But now I've been more selective.
You
so
be able to use it,
I love mid-century modern finds. And now I'm a little more cognizant too because I do have 3 boys, and I'm like, they're going to have to, inherit this or at least go through
or
it.
not.
Yes.
Don't want to become a hoarder.
Maybe we dial it back a little bit. But that's like probably one of my favorite things to do.
Hunt,
it is.
I think this next question is going to be very difficult for her to answer.
Oh, is
what's
it?
that?
It's very.
Oh, your favorite venue or event?
I know.
I think it's
like picking your favorite child,
okay,
right?
We can skip that one.
I will say, I do want to say our venues are
amazing.
So Kia Center, Camping World, Inner & Co., and the Dr. Phillips Center, they are such incredible, just the venues are just incredible, top, world class, but also the programming that's available too. So that is one of downtown Orlando's biggest assets.
It is.
And I am so to pick a favorite, I couldn't pick a favorite.
That's okay.
And same with restaurants too. It would be very difficult.
You picked 4,
but we have
that's
so
good.
many great gems. So come see us.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite book or one that you're currently reading that you'd recommend?
So I would say my favorite book of fiction, my favorite book is A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. And so that book it's an older book, Betty Smith, but it's just about how an environment can shape a person and how a person can shape an environment. And so I love that message. But from a professional business book, this one's a little bit older, but I love Brene Brown, Daring Greatly. She has a story in there about marble jar friends. And she also did it was either a TED Talk or some sort of speech, and it's called The Anatomy of Trust, where she talks about the marble jar, but how small acts, consistent acts build trust. And I truly believe that, especially in relationships and friendships, and it's a great lesson even for young children too, to just think about that, because the analogy is that in school a lot of times a teacher would have a marble jar, and every time the class does something well, they put a marble in, and if they do something not well, they pull out the marble. But if you read the book or if you listen to the speech, it really resonates with me. But I also love historical fiction.
Yeah,
so I love historical fiction. I love to read.
That's fun. Do you have a mantra?
So
something I will say to yourself in the mirror every morning or something like that?
Referenced Work Smarter Not Harder, but there's a quote that I love. So Shirley Chisholm has a quote, and it's, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. But I actually saw, and I don't know who to credit this to, but I actually love the next part. If you don't have a seat at the table, build your own table.
Yes,
build
your own table.
So I've given that to all my employees. We have that all posted in the office, because I truly believe it. If you don't, aren't included, then you need to create something to create your own destiny for your next.
Yeah. And finally, because this is her bold blueprint. Yes. I said that right this time. What is the one single, just real quickly, boldest thing you've ever done?
I would say probably changing careers. Especially during COVID.
That was pretty bold.
It was, I will say, and I was kind of going into something that I really didn't have a full scope of exactly, even though I had interviewed through it, I really didn't have a full scope of what
was involved and
was going to be involved in it. But it was something that now I'm so happy I did make the decision.
We're so happy you did too.
Yes. Well, and thank you to both of you for all you do for the community.
Well,
thank you
for joining us today. We had a great time.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jill.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Her Bold Blueprint. Please give us a like, share, and subscribe. We're on all podcasting platforms, and you can find us at herboldblueprintpodcast.com.